With daylight fading behind us, we finally reached the scene of the accident. How he described it was this gentle twist over. I'm pretty confident there wasn't too much speed involved in this.
Imagine being in a remote part of Western Australia and you roll your four-wheel drive. You're in a whole world of hurt because you're on your own. Well, Ronny Dahl and a couple of his mates came across two fellas that had had exactly this happen to them. Now, Ronny and his team were able to help these two fellas out, go and recover the four-wheel drive, which is fantastic. In this video, I'm going to react to the actual recovery component of the video so that we can learn from Ronny and his experience. Now, Ronny and I started our YouTube careers at around about the same time, and I've got a lot of respect for the work that he does because at the end of the day, he, like me, is trying to help the four-wheel drive community get out there and wheel well. He doesn't use those words though. Anyway, let's get into the video. We start about 6 minutes in where Ronny and his mates come across the rolled over vehicle.
Sad to see someone's pride and joy in this situation. He's got suspension, he's got the tyres, he's got his thing kitted out and all the fridge and everything. I can imagine what it'll be like having a car in this situation, not being able to do much about it.
I can't imagine what these guys they went through, especially trying to take all this stuff out from the car and get themselves out to go and get help.
Looking over to Fort Everest, it tells the story of the events leading up to the rollover. These tyres have just completely been mudded up and they've just been skidding. I reckon ABSs might have been kicking in the whole way down and just no chance. He's been skidding on the diff, but not here, right up in here. He's just been bellied out the whole way down this.
Literally it was fine and then all of a sudden, bang, there's ruts, deep ruts and just bellied out and just started sliding.
Oftentimes we hear the comment, oh, it's all those vehicles on big tyres and massive vehicles that are destroying the tracks. That comment is so ignorant, it's not funny. A vehicle that is on larger tyres, mud tyres, and is well set up in the hands of a competent four-wheel driver is going to do far less damage to the trails than a vehicle that is on smaller tyres and having to work harder to get through the terrain. Now, this situation, it's one of those things where these guys are well set up to go touring, but the ground is soft. We can see the moisture in the ground. And then they've come into this situation where their under vehicle clearance is not sufficient. Now, this is why many of us do run an oversized tyre, is it gives us that under vehicle ground clearance. You can see in that footage where the differential, the sway bar has been absolutely ploughing through the mud and the clay trying to get them through. And then the tyres are clogged up, so their wheels spinning a lot. Now, even if you are running mud tyres, the chances that they're going to be clogged up in this terrain is very high. So the type of tyre you're running in this sort of terrain kind of doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you end up with a slick tyre, and that's what it is. But if you're not having to gouge into the dirt like you can see they've had to do, you're going to be better off. And that's one of the reasons why many of us will run an oversized tyre. So let's continue on.
So I sent the front wheel on this bank and just tipped him over like here. Windscreen's intact, no airbags are gone. That mirror is still on the vehicle. None of those windows are smashed. There is oil leaking out. I know diff oil when I smell it. How he described it was this gentle twist over. I'm pretty confident there wasn't too much speed involved in this.
I'd agree with Ronny at this point. There doesn't look to be a lot of speed, but there probably was a lot of wheel speed. So rightly so, the driver's feeding some numbers. You know, he's got the engine revving quite hard. I don't know whether he was in drive or had manually selected a gear ratio, but he would have had wheel speed. And that's because you're trying to clear your tyres. But the delicate balance of wheel speed is the unexpected. So as has happened here, the vehicle has found traction at some moment and driven itself up the embankment, causing the rollover. There could be numerous factors that have caused that, but that's where he's ended up. But even though he had high wheel speed, I don't think he had high vehicle speed. They're two different things. So I tend to agree with Ronny's assessment of the situation here.
Assessing the area we have to work with, we found something very interesting. They've attached a strap here and they've done this twisty method here. Slowly pulls the vehicle. On the other side, they've got some max tracks with some pins into the ground to anchor it. Recalling from the conversation we had with him, he was saying that they got it about half a metre off the ground before it went back down again. It's not.
Really creative solution, don't you think? After watching this, I'm going to go out and see what I can do to recover a vehicle with this type of handmade winch. I've never done it before. There's a slightly different version to what they've done here, which is called a flip-flop winch, and I'm probably going to look at playing with that. And there's certainly videos on YouTube I've watched over the years where I've seen people do that sort of technique. Now, if you've ever successfully recovered a vehicle or tried to recover a vehicle with this style of winching method, let us know down below. And if you've got video, link it down below so we can enjoy watching and learning from your experiences. But I reckon this would be a fascinating technique to see if in dire emergency you can get it to work. I reckon credit to the guys for just ingeniously coming up with an idea to get themselves out of this predicament. Hey, you gotta try. Look at the country behind the vehicle, that out to the horizon. There is nothing. There's no city, there's no town, there's no tracks. This is remote country, and you're going to do anything you can to get out of trouble.
It's not going to be a simple recovery. Maybe 3 winches involved, 3 anchor points, because you don't want this thing sliding down either. Time to clear the way and set up for the recovery. I think I've got the most clearance too, so maybe it's better that I'm in this ditch here. I'll be parking the Troopy behind the Everest and use it as an anchor point. I reckon this is where I'll park it. We decided to park Trav's Land Cruiser.
You can see how much under vehicle clearance Ronnie's got with his Land Cruiser, and that's why he's not going to be struggling in this terrain. So when he travels through here, he's not even going to be scraping his diffs. He's probably just going to leave tyre tracks, and that's where oversized tyres is a real advantage.
Perpendicular to the track. This opened up the ideal winching angle to the rolled vehicle. You probably have to back up to it, eh?
Yeah, I reckon I'll need
Recovery gear. We'll start the whole box then, I reckon. It's time to join all the appropriate straps, lines, and soft shackles. Like that.
And
there we go.
This one here.
Yeah, because I've got both knots at the bottom.
That's it, yeah.
The idea is, we thought about putting the 3 metre static rope around the chassis, but we're worried that we're going to damage the gear unnecessarily. So we got 2 shackles in. We got plenty of those, easy to replace. And then we'll double this over. And then this is called a winch ring, also known as a donut. This allows us to run a double line pull. We don't need the extra force to pull this over. We just want more winch line out. It'll also give us a...
So there's a couple of things going on here. I'm just going to show you how I would connect to this vehicle. I use what we call a Factor 55 shorty strap, and it's ideal for connecting to chassis rails and to roll bars or any other device on your vehicle. So you can see how I've got that connected around the chassis rail of the race car, and that gives me a really good anchor point that's flexible and versatile. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I love what Ronnie's doing here. He's doing that double line pull, not because he needs the power from his winch, because it slows the winching procedure down. And in these sort of recoveries, you want control. You want the winch, when you push the button, to come in. You want the tiniest amount of movement. And on top of that, it is going to mean that the winch doesn't have to work as hard. So it's going to give them, it's just a brilliant way to do it. So don't think of double line pulls as only to be used when you've got to do a big lift or winching recovery. You can use them to slow the winching down. Excellent technique.
A slower controlled rate when we're winching. It won't be so sudden. Even though winching is slow, you'll be surprised how slow you want it when you're doing things like this. This is a sensitive operation. We now need to hook up the anchor point to the rear of the Everest. There is one problem, however. This is locked. I can't undo it, don't have a key. Holding a vehicle, it's going to be totally safe, the only choice we have.
When you're doing recoveries, especially when you're new to four-wheel driving and recoveries, there's a real temptation to think in black and white. You can do this, you can't do that. You're allowed to do this and you're not allowed to do that. This is safe, that's not safe. Unfortunately, black and white doesn't work. It's not real world. In the real world, you deal with grey. Every single four-wheel drive recovery will be different. Every time you come to a situation, you're going to be dealt with a challenge that you didn't expect and you may not have been trained for or seen before. And this is where what I try to do in my content is give people tools so that when they get to this situation, they can open their toolbox of knowledge and go, that's not quite the right tool for the job, but I understand how that tool works. I understand the dangers and the safeties and what it can and can't do. For this unique situation where I'm recovering this vehicle, I can use this tool, and that'll give me the best chance of being safe in the recovery. And that's exactly what Ronny's been dealt with here. He would have been looking to put a hitched link into the tow pack so that he gets a proper, safe anchor point, and he couldn't get the hitch out of the tow pack because he didn't have the key. How do you plan for that? It's one of those things that was dealt with him. So he used his knowledge and gone, well, I can connect to that with a soft shackle. We're going to be using a winch. We're not doing kinetic recovery. He's understood that this will provide him with a safe recovery point, and he's managing the situation. And that's exactly the way we deal with it when we're out here four-wheel driving.
Not attached to the tow ball, and the tow ball should never ever be used in any recovery situation.
100%.
Jono, we're using the studio light to light up the scene for the recovery.
And this is behind the scene. I'm hungry.
Yeah, we need to make some food. Do you want to do the...
You can see that they're getting to the end of the day. So you imagine these guys are hardworking chaps. They've probably got up stupid early in the morning to start on their trip. They've come across this crisis. They've met the two fellas and given them breakfast, dealt with all of that. They've travelled into the vehicle, which was 40 k's into this track. So that's a fair drive. They've got here. They're now getting to the end of the day. Fatigue management in these situations is critical. Now, I'm going to share a link to a video where I was in charge of a recovery of my son's Land Cruiser. He had a rollover on a family trip, and I had to manage it. I didn't do a very good job. And so I learned so much through that situation. And there's a really good video which we'll link to, and you can go and watch that. But fatigue management is so critical. So if you've got somebody available who you can delegate and say, your job, one of your jobs is to make sure that everybody's fed and drinking enough water and so on. Also making sure that people just go, hey guys, good chance to take a break. Let's sit down, work on our plan. What are we doing good? What could we do better? Is that the best way we should be connecting to the vehicle or whatever? You know, you and I don't spend all day, every day recovering vehicles. This is the sort of thing we might come across once or twice in our career, our four-wheel driving. So we are working outside of our expertise. And I will say, if you're not competent and don't feel comfortable with doing a recovery like this, it may be prudent for you to go and get help or let authorities know or let somebody who is qualified to do the recovery to do it. I think Ronny and his crew are doing a great job, and I have no concerns about them managing this process. But anyway, let's continue on.
Did a travel buddy dinner.
Oh yeah.
Let's run through this plan and make sure we're all happy with it. After an in-depth discussion, we decided that Sean will be in my troopy holding the Everest firmly while Travis winches from the side. I'll be hands-on coordinating and making any adjustments as required. Where I'm standing right now is the worst possible spot during the recovery. If something was to fail, everything's going to come inwards. Inside here, that's the death zone. Outside, not so much. That's where I'm going to move to. Sean, just take a little bit of tension. Yep, that's it. That's you done. Put on the brake. Trav, let's go a little bit and see what happens.
Copy.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Stop. Just kind of sliding a little bit. I can just hear the panels, that's all.
Option B, hey?
It's probably unavoidable, but I want to do everything we can to avoid it. Time to improvise. I have an idea that might work.
Ronny's not totally clear what's happening here, but what is happening as they're winching the vehicle along, it's sliding on its side. And so they've got to get the tyres to grip the ground so that the tyres can become the fulcrum that lift the vehicle up. And so that's what Ronnie's doing now. Again, he's having to improvise, come up with a solution. And this is where, you know, all of you working together as a team is really helpful. I've got a really bad habit of just getting into my head and just totally becoming just laser focused on what I'm doing, and that's a bad habit. I'm aware of it nowadays, and I try in these situations to slow down, take a deep breath, and let other people contribute to the thinking. I find that very difficult, but hey, I'm learning and I'm trying to grow in my skills and expertise. So let's watch what Ronny does so that he can get these tyres to stay where they are, which will help the vehicle right itself.
Okay, this should stop it from sliding, but also allow it to collapse this once it tries to stand up. That front one, not really sure about that one yet, so I'm just going to leave it where it is and then just see what happens. Give me a good indication if it is sliding there. That max track should fall over. All right. Let's worry about nothing there. Let's see how this works out. Sean, take a little bit of tension. That's it. Trav, start winching.
We do some work.
Keep going. Keep going. Stand by. It's on the max tracks now.
This is looking promising.
Looks really good.
It's roughly half a metre off the ground. That's as far as they got it. I'm going to put a bit of pressure here. Hopefully that's going to help a little bit. Try and winch. 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 Yep.
The amount of force required to right a vehicle like this is actually surprisingly low. Let's say this vehicle weighs 2.5 metric tons, and this is just total assumption numbers and pretty much guesswork, but to right it and put it back on its wheels, we're probably only going to be using about 1,200 kilos. So it's relatively light. The winches, if they've got like a 12,500-pound winch, that's just about 5 metric tons. So the winches won't be working very hard either. So just keep that in mind. It looks like things are, working really hard, but I don't think they will be.
Yep, keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Stop. Let's assess.
So we got the car.
Really good point, Ronnie said. You hear him say, let's assess. They've got it to a point. Stop, we're safe. Let's look and see where we're at. Excellent comment.
Back on the wheels. It's all going well. And now Ronnie trying to find a way to pull it back so we can have it on a flat ground.
Our next problem to solve is getting the Everest into neutral without firing up the engine. This is very important as there is a high potential of destroying the engine with its motor oil likely in the wrong area. And not knowing the condition of it, it's not worth the risk. And to do that, I'm going to have to hop in the vehicle to take it out of park and put it into neutral. There may be an override thing I've got to work out.
Wonder what the inclinometer would say on the dash at the moment. I reckon it's on a 45.
Mate, the angle on this is hectic. So that's the clip I just pushed out. You push that button down and then flick it to neutral. This means we can move it. Without pressing that, this locks, you can't move it. Sean, let's just do a test.
I can understand why they want to get the vehicle in neutral. Personally, I just would have let the tyres skid because he's got enough winching capacity just for that to happen. But hey, nothing wrong with this. I just have a thing about people getting involved in the recovery, so climbing in the vehicle. And look, it's really quite safe. Like even if everything went wrong and the vehicle rolled back onto its side and Ronnie's not got a seatbelt on or anything, the chances of him getting hurt in any real way are pretty slim. But I don't know, I just feel like why get in there, just skull drag it and she'd be right. But anyway, that's the decision they've made.
Test a couple of winches. Keep going. Hold up, stop. I can't let go of the steering wheel, so how are we looking back there, Sean?
Look really good, Ronnie.
Go a little bit. Tiny bit.
And we thought we had the easy bit done.
I really don't like this bit where Ronnie's trying to steer the vehicle and up on the side. I reckon he probably doesn't like it again. Now, I'm not saying this is the case, but This is where fatigue can come into play. They've been going all day. It's obviously night now. They've just had a hectic recovery. Like this, they've been going at this for a few hours for sure. And this is the time where you can make less than ideal decisions. And I know that I get caught out with that. So I'm not pointing the finger at anybody here, but it's just something we can learn from and be aware of. And if we're aware of it, we have a chance to not make what could potentially be a bad decision.
Minimal damage as possible and doing it as safe as possible, but it is chewing into the night.
It's looking pretty good now. Getting there. Few more. Stop. Let's just pause and convene.
2-minute noodle time.
He likes it a little bit. We like it a little bit.
So there you go. The guys have done a really, really good job of recovering that vehicle. I really appreciate how there was lots of obvious planning and consulting and taking time to work out what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. Factor in, they've got the added thing of, they've got camera crew running around the place. They're trying to think of camera angles. They've got possibly got a producer involved telling everybody what to do. So they've got an added complexity that the normal person doesn't have when they're out there on the trails trying to recover the vehicle. But the learnings are, if you're ever in a situation where you're doing a recovery, take your time to plan the recovery out and just do it safely. And I think the other big learning is you're going to have to deal with the unexpected, the grey. So take the black and white things that you've learnt over the years and understand how to apply those in a manner of grey, and I think you'll be a lot safer out there. All right, well, thank you very much to Ronny and his team for bringing this excellent video to us, and I believe that the two fellas who rolled the vehicle, everything was sorted out and they're all good now, so great outcome overall. I'm MadMatt. Stay safe on the trails.